Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel, and I am excited to be back after a long hiatus. In anticipation of the brand new set, Power the Elements, that's dropping this weekend at the premiere / sneak peek event, I took my brand new, never before profiled Neospace NEOS deck to locals this past Sunday, where I went X1, winning my first 3 rounds, my first 2 rounds, which were 2-0. And so I ended the day with 3-1. The only loss I had on the day was to Marincess, which apparently got a bunch of new cards that I didn't know about. But I won against Eldlich round 1, 2-0. I won against Dragon Link round 2 in a 2-0 match. And then in round 3, I played against Albaz Strike, the structure deck stuff, where I won in time. So each of us had gotten 1 game, and we were in game 3. I had more life points when time was called, and so I ended up getting the win there. The deck performed fantastically, guys, and you know, it just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to play the best things. You can win with cards that you like. Cool thing about this deck is that I built it to be toolboxy, maximize consistency, and there's not a single other monster beside a fusion monster in this extra deck. So I'm gonna get going and show you what I'm running. As I said, guys, this deck is optimized completely for consistency, because at the end of the day, the most consistent deck in the room will win the day out. So starting things out, we've got 3 copies of Elemental Hero Neos. This is the best card in the deck. You know, you need this guy for all of your different plays, and having him in this particular build at any less than 3 is not a good way to go about things. When Power the Elements drops, things may change, but for now we got him at 3. And this is something new for probably most other builds, as we're running 1 of each of the OG Neospacian guys. These guys are fantastic for, you know, the fact that they're level 3s, but they're not gonna really do anything on their own. So you just got to have them in there. Now, moving on to some of our other cards. This is a brand new addition to the deck. This is 2 copies of Keeper of Dragon Magic. Now, this is one of the best cards in your entire deck, primarily because of the amount of searching that it allows you to do. It allows you to get out, so it allows you to send Neoses or Neospacians or anything that's listed on a fusion monster to the graveyard, and then search a polymerization or any card that lists fusion in its name, which means you can grab fusion deployment, Neos fusion. You know, it searches a wide swath of your spells. Even if it gets negated, it's still very good. And it also has an effect where it can special summon a monster face down, and face down monsters can be used for contact fusion. So it's a great way to get things onto the field very fast. I'm next only running 1 copy of Neospace Connector. This is down from 3. And I call this card the bait card, because what it does is it baits out your opponent's plays. Neospace Connector is stopped by nearly everything except for Ghost Spell. It is just one of the most easy to stop cards. Ash, Veiler, Imperm, you name it, the hand trap stops it. And so people are very, very likely to want to hand trap this card, which is why I still run it in here at 1, but it's gonna be very, very rare of a situation where you're actually going to resolve its either of its effects, let alone its second effect. Now, in this deck, I'm still running a hero engine. I'm probably one of the only Neospacians players you'll find that runs no Stratos, but I have a copy of Prisma, a copy of Shadow Mist, and a copy of Blazeman for our level 4 heroes. Just get a little bit of extra searching and stuff in there. I don't really find Stratos to be as good as in this build, but he may be good in other builds. Next, this came in super, super handy for me over the course of this past weekend, was Elemental Hero Honest Neos. There was a game where I actually used Glow Moss's effect to get over a borrelend dragon, popping a dragon's ravine, and then Elemental Hero Honesty Neos was what sealed the game, allowing me to swing directly on my opponent for 5,000 to win the game, which was really, really awesome. This is just a fantastic card. I had taken this almost completely out of my older builds, but this is really getting me to reconsider, because this is how you steal games. And the final monster we've got in this deck is 1 copy of Rainbow Dragon. I'm choosing to run this one over the original Rainbow Dragon, but you can run whichever one you want. You just only have him in here for Rainbow Neos. You're never actually summoning this guy out. So that's going to be it for the monsters. As you notice, guys, no hand traps whatsoever. This is pure Jaden goodness. Moving on to our spells. Best spell in the deck, you know, the one that single-handedly caused me to reassemble this deck, is 3 copies of NEOS Fusion. This card is basically allows you to send the materials for a 2 material fusion summon for a NEOS Fusion monster from your deck to the graveyard, and summon out the appropriate fusion monster. So this can grab you any of your original 6 and your Rainbow Neos as well. Next, we're running 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. This is the brand new secret spice in the deck, and it's one of the, it's the card that made this deck able to compete, I think. Fusion Deployment is not only great as a fusion summoning mechanic, but it also baits out your ashes and drolls and, you know, other things like that that would get in your way. Actually, I don't think droll can negate this, but I meant to say, like, you know, definitely a lot of your hand traps, especially your ash blossoms and stuff, will be baited out by Fusion Deployment. But the reason it's so good is it grabs you Neos directly from your deck, and because you run an extra deck of all fusions, this card will not affect you as much as you might think at first. Next, we've got Miracle Contact for shuffling things back into your main deck. 2 copies of Emergency Call for searching out your Honesty Neos, especially to help with those OTK plays. And then, this is one of the best cards in the deck. We've got 2 copies of your Favorite Hero. Now, Favorite Hero, the reason why it's so good is because it can grab you Neospace directly from your deck, which means your entire extra deck of OG Neos fusions are now completely usable because you have a way to reliably keep them on the board. Not only that, but it boosts their attack power, protects them from card effects, and does a host of other things to, you know, help protect your monsters. The reason I kept the hero engine in here is primarily because this guy went back to 2 and then to 3. Hero Lives is just a fantastic card, and I justify running it in here not necessarily for the heroes, but for the fact that it combos very well with Air Neos. It takes a chunk, like a 4,000 point chunk first turn, right out of your life points. And you combine that together with Favorite Hero, you can get an Air Neos up to very, very high attack and steal a game. And I've actually done that in one of the plays this past weekend. Next, we've got 1 copy of Neospace, 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, a Polymerization, Contact Out, and then I actually resolved this twice, Wrath of Neos. You combine this together with your Prisma, you've got a huge, huge way to just clear your opponent's board, bait out a back row, do a number of things. So well, actually, I don't think I resolved it. So I activated this twice. The first game was in round 1. I blew up the Eldlich player's whole back row. But then in round 3, I actually activated this on the board of the Albaz player, and he, you know, it's baited a negate. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that when you play a card like this, you are baiting out those plays, which allow you to go for, you know, more bombastic plays in the long run. And then finally, we're closing things out with 2 copies of Nex. It's going to do it for our spells. Now, moving on to the extra deck. We're running each of the original 6 fusions. We've got 1 copy of Air Neos, 1 copy of Aqua Neos, 1 copy of Flare Neos, 1 copy of Grand Neos, 1 copy of Glow Neos, and 2 copies of Dark Neos. Now, why this ratio? Dark Neos, I think, is my favorite one because he can keep himself on the field even when you don't have a Neospace. All you have to do is summon out Dark Neos turn 1 and then activate his effect to negate himself. When he negates himself, he will not shuffle back to the extra deck during the end phase, allowing you to keep him on the board as a chunk blocker. You get him out with Neos Fusion, you know, you're protecting your life points for a bit. Granted, this is a go second deck, but this is a very good first turn play. The rest of these guys were incredibly useful. So I summoned each and every single one of them throughout my weekend last weekend, and I'll tell you what they did. As I said before, Glow Neos was great for that awesome pop of Ravine and direct attack over the borrelend dragon for game. Inflicted 5,000 with the Honesty Neos. Grand Neos baited out a negate which was really awesome. Flare Neos actually can get super big. I used him in my Eldlich match to go for 7,200 points over an empty field. And then I had my Keeper of Dragon magic inflict the last 800 points I needed for game in that. Aqua Neos was great for, you know, when you have your Aqua Dolphin, it can easily negate hand traps. And so what you do is you combine that together with your, you know, you send a Neos or something to the graveyard, and then you can shuffle them back using Miracle Contact, get an Aqua Neos out. That instantly opens up all of your kind of fusion plays that you have. And of course, Air Neos is pretty self-explanatory, just massive amounts of damage on board. You can't really run the deck without him. I also summoned this guy here, Nebula Neos, once, although I ended up losing that game because the draw 4 that I had weren't really that good. We've got one copy of Storm Neos, one copy of Magma Neos, and a copy of Chaos Neos. And finally closing things out, Rainbow Neos, which I summoned, Neos Knight, Brave Neos, which I summoned, and Cosmo Neos, which I also summoned to lock down my opponent's board in combination with Rainbow Neos, so he couldn't negate any of my, me bouncing back any of the stuff that I had against the Marincess player. So, you know, he ended up being very good. He's a nationally ranked guy who, you know, travels for tournaments and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of people really enjoyed seeing the deck, and I enjoyed piloting it. And I'm super excited for the Power of Elements stuff to be coming out next week. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. This has been the Merman Master with the Team Time Riders YouTube channel, and I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.